in the factory Dior handbag for 4,000 euros from a shop. But it's not surprising. Our minds are wired first for meaning, pattern, metaphor, and mythology. I am not judging your designer watches or handbags. I'm just reminding you that you already invest in others' stories and myths, buying into their intellectual property and assets. Stories inform yours and my reality. They are infrastructure, they are capital, they are strategy. Stories are used to change the shape of our world, change opinions even about ourselves. The colonial project was a story the plague-afflicted, desperate but violent Europeans told themselves about their divinely appointed entitlement to our worlds, our trade systems, our resources, our lives, and our histories. And that story became not only their reality, but also ours. We don't just consume certain stories like the iPhone or MacBook Air or the Dior shoes. We inhabit them, we use them, we imagine our lives around them and with them. They tell us what is possible, what is valuable, what is real. Stories are neither neutral nor tame. They are central to socio-political strategy. For example, Make America Great Again. Central to value creation, central to the regeneration of our political, spiritual, and economic imagination, to inciting people to create, to invent, to look to problems as opportunities for wealth-giving solution offering. Those nations that can encourage and secure the rights of their stories, their inventions, their ideas, also are able to script the world in their own image and likeness. To awaken to the power, essence, and use of story is therefore to awaken to the architecture of human consciousness. And for you who are immersed in the story of business and enterprise, it is to awaken to how and where culture, creativity, imagination, innovation, and law intersect to possibly generate highly tradable creative values. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word became a story. The Word is the spark, story is the process that gives form, function, and market life. Intellectual property is the process made legal and strategic. A patent, a copyright, a trademark. Each is a way of fixing the word into a story the world can trade with, can license, and build upon. Nations and peoples that master this alchemy to turn imagination into infrastructure and wealth, story themselves into enduring power. What we practically need to do with it, what we practically need to do with this awareness, not just as Nigerians, but also linked to a continental vision, is what this talk is mostly about. Simply put, why we urgently and collectively need to establish and institutionalize a Pan-African IP ecosystem as essential infrastructure. An ecosystem where ideas, inventions, and the imagination of our people are supported, protected, harnessed, capitalized, protected, and multiplied. This is rather sadly still a frontier area for our nations. Creativity and imagination deliver worlds. Apple, BlackBerry, Microsoft, Amazon. Can you imagine your own contemporary life without the computer? A single innovation can generate an entire economy that surpasses those of nations. Apple is worth $3.4 trillion by market cap. If Kenya were a company, its market cap would be $113 billion. Nigeria, $477 billion. Country, my dears, not company. Yet our nations insist on strangely remaining oblivious to what all this means. Our leaders prefer to undermine our imaginative assets and have made a life out of depending on strangers' theorems of being, identity creation, development, economy, and wealth making. Generation after generation of Africans are led to become perpetual players in another's game, bound by another's rules. Yet if the state of the world today teaches us anything, it is this: those who invented the story and game can and will change it at will, and never ever to our gain. If I had my way, I would lead us all to pound at the doors of the AFCFTA and demand that they move a third of their energy and resources into laying the foundations of what I argue is the most consequential infrastructure of our age: that integrated, interconnected, Pan-African intellectual property and patent ecosystem. China has proven this to us with resonant outcomes. It engages IP as core national infrastructure. They rewired a society that in 1975 had fallen apart, had lost its civilizational impetus, was using cooking oil to fuel its cars, and have used this to turn themselves into a new world leader where all civilizations now pivot. And that is only in 50 years. What is our excuse? And how do they do this without war and plunder is the subject of global fascination. But one fundamental tweak they made is to look to their own people and study global societies and ask what has really brought them success. And they created an environment where every citizen, however young, who could create a solution for their people's challenges and problems, a solution that could be tested and scaled, was fully supported and could benefit from it. That is how to create $10 million millionaires within 10 years. IP is not about the building or designing the grand thing. Although that works too, it's not only about the oil factory, the fintech platform or phone. It is mostly in the smallest of details that can be scaled up. A new kind of nail, an extra twist in a wire, a casing on a phone screen. All the places that our people create in the millions of ways that are crushed, ignored, or unseen. Hyundai mastered precision components around patents that protected them, that they could trade with before they built the car. Its rise was powered by the accumulation of rights in alloys, engine parts, and production methods. Tiny claims that compounded into global dominance. Samsung holds over 85,000 active patents worldwide, and it is the main source of their profits. Most companies are very circumspect about these part of things. I get it. It's a security issue, not just a legal one. Thankfully, China is a little more transparent, so we can look to them, copy them maybe. China's first modern patent law came in force in 1984, just the other day, after Deng's reforms informed by an extensive study of the world, which laid the foundations for patent filings to accelerate. From 2,000 domestic and invention patent applications a year to now, how many do you think they have? 1.9 million patent applications in 2023. The PRC has used IP as a lever not only of its industrial and cultural power, but to use it to assist its citizens gain individual material wealth. Do remember once again that the main work of the historical invaders of the African continent was to learn our ways, plunder, seize assets, steal skills like rice growing and wrought iron making, goods, books, chronicles, medicine, to do what? To trademark, to copyright and patent under their respective countries and names. We now buy variations of my great-grandmother's antibiotic wisdom from Western pharmaceuticals because they claimed it as their intellectual property and patented it first. There's a reason I do not buy body shop products. The founder, Anita Roderick, who was once praised for going around the world in general, Africa in particular, learning beauty and wellness regimens and patenting them again in the UK, claiming their intellectual property, with no benefits whatsoever returning to the communities, the cultures, the peoples, or the nations that had refined and developed these natural remedies. Shea butter, the loofah, the pumice stone, all African. 2 days ago, along the bridge to Victoria Island in the traffic, I saw 2 young men wade in to jumpstart a large car on the flooded road with rudimentary cables they had created from what I could see were ropes, wire, and a dangling metal thing. I could not see their power source, but I was fascinated by the fact that they could make the car jump. But they got that car started and moving. If we were a serious people, we would have IP carders who are lurking and figuring out if this is wealth in waiting, because roads flood in every single country of the world. I could not tell what these young men had done, but it certainly looked new. And I challenge you now, when you step out today, start looking with deeper eyes at the things that our people do to repair and renew that might seem sometimes annoying to you at first. Count the innovations and inventions you will see. Out of the 10, 3 or 4 might probably have the same impact as the Apple non-breakable iPhone screen on the world. And to you, the business and leadership community, what can we do to at least try to generate a continent-wide system to protect such African micro-inventions as sites of potential wealth creation and also personal empowerment? Nations that are dominant in the modern age have defined the rules of IP and patents to benefit themselves. Nothing says we cannot take advantage of these for our gain. It is their treasure mine, but also certainly ours. Remember also how in Europe, generations of wealth are created in families specializing in just one thing: cables for cars, blades for scalpels, a machine that sharpens surgical knives. These little things that scaled up yield immense wealth and create arteries of influence that allow a nation to extract value for its people and itself, while also serving the world for profit. Strategic instruments of human myth-making, projecting identity and commanding how the world sees and values themselves. In this strange global order, IP assets are capital, our infrastructure, our strategy too. They're the foundations of balance sheets that govern the planet, and at the center of all this, of course, is story, how we see, find, tell, or make it. Even now, I am peddling to you an idea and a story, that of African IP futures, of wealth lying dormant in our midst, of opening our eyes anew to the story of every village engineer who builds a solar microgrid, every Lagos coder who writes an algorithm, every fashion designer who fuses tradition with future fabrics is a carrier of IP and story. A cloth weaving technique from Abeokuta, an adjustment to a car's engine that moves a car along a flooded street, a fresh way of blending makeup on African skin to match deep skin tones in morning light. These small, ingenious refinements, often passed hand to hand, workshop to market stall, holds as much wealth as may hold as much wealth as $1 billion superhero saga made by Marvel Studios. They are our still unrecognized world shapers, and if our nations organized them around a serious IP architecture, they might also be part of the chapters of a great, new, much-needed African origin story. We preach so often about the creative industry, but rarely see the wood for the trees. That it's about intellectual property, asset building work. Intentionally and strategically seeking to develop, blueprint, and invest in the continent's pipelines of ingenuity is also to dare to open new portals of economic possibilities, which we as a continent so desperately need. I don't know how much more to emphasize how much our predilection for finished outcomes rather than attention to the foundries of our everyday inventiveness drag us into lows of poverty and shame that a brave national imagination and vision would prevent. There is no African nation, perhaps with a brief exception of apartheid South Africa, that seized on this idea to secure their, yes, highly perverse interests. It's quite embarrassing, to be honest, considering that only over 30 years ago, collectively, we had more IP applications than China did, and now we can't even speak. Among our nations, the idea and imagination and knowledge economy is consistently undercapitalized, underprotected, and always vulnerable to poachers. I learned with horror how in some Kenyan technical universities, cabals within the institutions lurk to seize and claim student inventions, selling these to waiting predatory outsiders. I don't know what the situation is here. Our own governments treat our imaginative wealth as incidental rather than intentional. Still today, I urge us towards this idea of an integrated Pan-African intellectual property ecology, deliberate, muscular, and unashamed of its ambition, equal to the grand architectures of China and South Korea, an ecology where law, capital, and creative institutions conspire to protect, scale, and monetize the continent's narrative and knowledge wealth. Consider the scales. In 2023, China's patent-intensive industries alone generated 13.04% of GDP, around 16.87 trillion yuan. South Korea, where storytelling, brand design, R&D, and trademarks form the very sinews of the economy, so IP-intensive industries account for 43.1% of GDP and employ nearly 6.7 million people. And that is as far back as 2015. So imagine what a Pan-African IP system could deliver. For how long must we remain as the source of raw material for others' empires, our creativity extracted, packaged, exported, and monetized elsewhere? How hard is it to establish systemic IP architecture that can ensure that at least a substantive quantity of profits of our imagination return to our nations from which they have emerged? And if the institutions and states cannot act, even in their interest, what of the African private sector? Dr. Felwine Sarr, Senegalese economist, author, and musician, in his book Afrotopia, which I hope you'll get access to, has invited African, especially economists, to look beyond the borrowed frameworks, including economic ones, and try to deploy both an older and new imagination to summon another African world. I am so done with those who act as if Africa can only wait for someone else to draw the maps of and for African possibilities, to which we train to conform. A Kenyan invented mobile money system, M-Pesa, yet the country holds nothing of its patents. This should have been the great African warning shot. The beneficiaries of this most lucrative of ventures are the English Vodacom. Can you imagine that? I use this Kenya-created invention, and as I do so, I send royalties to the foreign pirates that seized the plan and patented it. All across Africa, how many more stories do we have like this? Our Chinese friends learned from our unpreparedness to ensure such a heist would not happen to their ideas and to their people. By realizing that it had to take ownership of its future by owning its truest resources, that of the imagination of their billion citizens. And because of this, literally, they created an entire system built around a multi-layered, a complex system built around an amazing IP ecosystem that involves, of course, patent subsidies, IP courts, enforcement, and best of all, an IP exchange where you can trade in your ideas. As you've heard, China files more patents than any country in the world, and its patent-intensive industries contribute over 13% of GDP. Without aiming for our own continental IP and patent repository, our ideas and innovations, the unique lived stories of our lives that make our realities, will continue to light the rest of the world while leaving our own house in shadow. I've said it before, this is a question of sovereignty, economic, creative, civilizational, cosmological, spiritual, and African. I am implicated in this gap. As a novelist, those who profit from my work include an elaborate network of agents, publishers, and booksellers based in Europe and America. Why? Because in Africa, we have neglected the infrastructure that would allow us to benefit from African creations right here on the continent. My few books mostly sustain European and African economies. Every single author published abroad repeats this story again and again. Did you really think that foreign agents and publishers come looking for us because they love us and our work? No. And this foolishness, by the way, is ours entirely. I'm not blaming them. The next 5 years will decide whether Africa becomes the world's richest source of licensable ideas or remains its cheapest quarry of unclaimed creativity. We stand at the crossroads. To make African idea worlds fruitful, we need a living coalition of thinkers, plotters, and builders. Young AIESEC, you're here. Young people of AIESEC, are you here? I don't hear you. Are you here? I see you. This charge rests with you. Yes, build on the foundations already given to you. Answer the demands, but please answer the demands of this age and embrace your calling as a new generation to implant something potent and enduring for your own time, your legacy, and for the African generations yet to come. The choice is before you to design the walls of a new African century. We should have organized a continental IP pact 70 years ago. The world already knew this. The United States, South Korea, Iran, China, UK treat intellectual property not merely as law, but as a national security and economic power. And are we the only ones who will remain blind? Consider Netflix, the world's most aggressive IP real estate company. The IP asset is story. They're already sending people all over the continent shopping for stories. Asia understands this. But see our lives. And the hard-nosed African economist has learned to scoff. Story makers do not make balance sheets. Until they do, K-pop's $12 billion tidal wave, Marvel Cinematics universe outpaces GDPs of entire nations. Africa sits atop a vast and tapped IP reserve, a treasure that could collateralize loans, seed for sovereign wealth funds, and attract investments. But imagination is not enough on its own. Just like a river to yield electricity needs a dam, to convert African imagination into real economic power, we must build a Pan-African IP ecology as deliberate and disciplined as China's. And this means more than national laws. It demands a continental pact that harmonizes copyright, patent, and trademark regimes, a Pan-African enforcement court to protect creators across borders, and a single digital vault where every invention, design, and story can be registered and defended in real time. We need financing tools that allow patents and catalogs to become bankable assets, licensing exchanges that let our creators sell to the world, and education systems that produce the lawyers, engineers, deal makers, and creators to run it. We may hope to have the political will to treat intellectual property as infrastructure, but if it is not there, we can still find a way around it. Those who lead this long overdue work will not only secure Africa's creative wealth, but also seize one of the fastest growing markets of the next decade. The global content and IP licensing sector are surging towards multi-trillion-dollar valuations, while Africa captures less than 1%. We have far too often been mesmerized by the corrosive logic of development, a framework never designed to give our internal systems room to define their destinies. Our fixation on problem solving as if we are a perpetual wound rather than a wellspring of generative power blinds us to the real question: who gets to own the future? Wealth follows the daring to imagine. We have the privilege of many problems, gaps, and challenges in Africa, that inventing patentable solutions would be our turbocharged superpower. We also hold every ingredient for renewed world-making, linguistic depth, material invention, design intelligence, untold archives of story. What we lack is the infrastructure to convert genius into ownership. Young AIESEC, can we lay claims to the world our imagination makes possible? Can you help us lay claims to a world that our imagination and your imagination can make possible? And seriously, let me remind you again, for how long will our beloved continent remain a supplier to others' raw ideas and stories? A Maasai folktale turns into the Lion King plotline. Disney, in this case, holds the $200 billion title deed. It is so frustrating, esteemed industry players, so frustrating that we have tried so hard to articulate this to our governments and institutions, only to hear, it's the crazy artists again. Yesterday, I met a professor of intellectual property from the University of Lagos who was citing similar frustrations. And I keep wondering, is it the language we speak? I don't want to keep playing the role of a transit point for others' extractive imagination. Why should we buy back our own processed coffee and tea and do so without blinking in shame when we hear African coffee? Coffee, an intrinsic African heirloom and patrimony, contributes 20 billion euros to the German economy. 20 billion euros. Don't you also want to manage, supervise, and build upon and stimulate Africa's creative and heritage destiny? Don't you want to try to explore how creative value is prized, owned, and exchanged across a continent of 1.5 billion people? Don't you want to define the rules of the game of the future and of the emerging world? And you who are invested in practice, what would it take also to co-create a structured, bankable, creative, cultural, content and innovation economy across our continent? I will skip some of this part because I think it is just going back. It's a more a rant thing. Can't we do it? And I think we can. I really think we can. You know, AFCFTA is actually best placed. So we have all the elements and everything in place that could transform and transmute our imagination and innovation and everyday ingenuity into something that works for the whole continent. Something that gathers the continent. Anyway, the good news is this. Yesterday we visited the MAD Center at the University of Lagos. I was so excited. The vestiges of all that we need are already in place. Intellectual properties with compounding values and harnessed patterns of the imagination. We're already halfway there. If the future is, as we suspect, also a story, then please let's also ask ourselves, at least take away this. How do we get to hold the rights of its African retelling? In the silence between what we imagine and what we build, others are already moving here, packaging the ideas we ignore, extracting the dreams we look past, commodifying our magic. But young AIESEC, this is for you. Are you content with payment in applause while others cash the check? Are you? Let me leave that question with you. My main lecture is ended. Allow me this kind of encomium. This is a kind of panegyric of praise. Dearest Baba, Dr. Michael Omolayole, sages like you and my own late father, your friend and brother Thomas Owuor, long understood that Africa's true gold is not buried in the ground, but blazing in the minds, spirits, souls, hearts, energy, imagination of her people. This vision of life, Baba, makes your life an epic, a living myth. You remind us that Africa has always sat atop a volcanic vault of imagination and creativity, a resource like so many others, still too rarely shared with ourselves, for ourselves, among ourselves. I do not know, Baba, how we might borrow your panoptic gaze to unshackle our imagination. But I do know this, we are seated on an inheritance, 1.5 billion minds across this, the youngest demographic continent, creative, energetic, restless, hungry for mirrors, aching for meaning and willing to pay for what speaks to and makes them whole. You brought me here not merely as a Kenyan, but also as your daughter, and in that lies the truth of our African boundarylessness, the reality of the number 1.5 billion Africans. You know the truth, Baba. Creativity harnessed moves markets, shapes destinies, builds empires, and yet our Africa remains a footnote in somebody else's story. Is this right? Is this just? Do we doom ourselves to remain the backdrop, the raw material, the supplier of cheap labor, the crowd seen in someone else's rewarding tale? You have said before that genius is here. The hunger, aching, visionary, relentless is here. But what we need the most are frontline brigades, the institutional door-breaking cohorts with the audacity to demand the infrastructure, the moneyed muscle, and a generational vision to build an all-encompassing intellectual property network that turns ideas into imaginations, into money, into equity, and a new kind of nationhood for us all. This is a wager on Africa's richest, most powerful resource, our collective imagination. Baba, your vision stands as a testament. The future isn't found, it is forged. Legends do not wait to be told, they make themselves. That's why, Baba, we will cross rivers for you, journeying beyond so many foolish, nerve-wracking African borders and past the gatekeepers who want Africa's destiny to remain a perpetual apprentice to the world. We come, Baba, we come because you are one of the compasses who dares to conjure the highest dreams for us, who moves with the integrity of one who truly sees. We stand here in the glow of your lifetime's work, the living evidence of the possibility of the impossible. Proof that leadership is primarily world-making and future-crafting. And that's for you, especially you, young AIESEC. Leadership is about world-making and future-crafting. Baba, you are icon and sage because your expectations dissolve the limits against which we have become so used to striking our heads. To the young generation here, these, dear ones, is what true African legacy is. In people with the audacity to imagine more, bigger, better, truer for us and for 1,000 African generations. Baba, I said we will still cross rivers for you to bless and thank you for reminding us that the future is a matter of craft and care for one's people. May your heart and vision continue to challenge us. May the stories we summon before you today become the legacies that shape our collective tomorrow. Here's to a future forged in the foundry of eternity and lent to our hands, minds, and dreams, rich with imagination, wonder, and boundless hope. Heko, we say in Kenya, Heko to you. May God shield and shelter you, Babao. Remain hale and hearty as you live to witness the currents you stirred into a transboundary Pan-African flood of generational world and wealth making. We love you, Baba, and salute you now and always. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Yvonne. Thank you. Wow, that was such a wake-up call for every African. Please take your seats because the panel session comes up next. If you're proud to be African, I want to hear you make some noise. Yes, so when I was in primary school, we were taught in social studies that Mungo Park discovered River Niger. And I have a big sister here who is from the bank of River Niger. So Mungo Park came all the way from, where is he even from, Sept? From wherever, to come and discover where we are living. And we're actually being taught this abnormality. Africans need to begin to tell their own stories. We need to not just tell these stories, but own these stories. Because we do tell the stories, but we tell them and we sell them. And whoever it is we sell them to can twist it to their own narrative. Africans, the kind of brilliance we have on this continent, we should be sharing palliative to other continents. And honestly, no matter how difficult and dark it may seem right now, I still have some sort of hope. I still just believe that Africa would rise someday. And we will carry all those other continents on our back. Thank you very much, Yvonne, because this was such a wake-up call. I was sitting there and I was already thinking which continent I'm going to go and colonize. Very quickly, I want to recognize a few people. Some past presidents of AIESEC Alumni Nigeria. Mr. Tayo Bright, please, if I mention your name, I want to see your hand up in the air. What is? So that we'll know when we'll run. Mr. Tayo Bright, please, where is he? Where is he? Oh, he's not in, because I saw him before. All right? Mr. Shola Oyetayo, is he here? Yes. Please, I want you to give him a resounding round of applause. He was actually, please, sir, stand up if you're not, please. Because I was told that you are the first, or rather the chairman of the organizing committee for the first Omolayole management lecture, right? That was back in 1985. Thank you, sir. And I heard you have come for every single edition since then. So this is your 41st visit here. God bless you, sir. Your fans and ACs, they are hailing you. I would also like to recognize Mr. Idris Yakubu. Yes, thank you, sir. And my big sis, Mrs. Brenda Wago. Yeah, she's another past president of the AIESEC Alumni Nigeria. Very briefly, I would like to recognize the following people as well. Mrs. Adeleke, where are you, ma'am? God bless you. Thank you so much for coming. Mr. Olakunle Yonda. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Chief Olusegun Osunkeye. Please. Oh, I'm sorry, sir. It's Anambra tongue. Please don't be angry. Dr. Remy Alo. All right, sir. Thank you. Chief Ajibola Ogunshola. Ogunshola. Did I pronounce it well? Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. And thanks for coming. Mr. Doyin Owolabi. Where is he? Thank you, sir. Dr. Imo Isneli. Please, nobody should waylay me on my way home. I'm trying my best. Please, sir, could you tell me what it's... Could you give me the correct pronunciation, please? Ishweli. Thank you, sir. Miss Vivian Owuor. She's already laughing because she knows I will fail that test. So she's laughing in advance. Thank you, ma'am. And my big brother, Mr. Seni Adetu. I've pronounced that name so many times I can't fail it. Toby Adeniyi, is he here? Thank you so much. And Otunba Francis Meshioye, OFR. Thank you very much. Very quickly, I'll be welcoming our panelists for the panel session. Remember, he who keeps to time will keep their word. That's what we're going to go home with today. So, I'll be starting with the chairman and group CEO, please don't sack me from our industry, because that's my industry, so I should know how to pronounce that word. It's Ogilvy Nigeria Limited. He's also the chairman of Algorithm Media Limited. A round of applause for Mr. Seni Adetu as he comes up. He's one of the panelists for this panel session. Let's also welcome Dr. Segun Ogunsanya, Chairman Airtel Africa Foundation and Chairman Board of Directors, Nigeria Sovereign Investment Authority. A round of applause for him as well as he comes to take his seat. Please also, let's keep that hand clapping for Toju Dottie, Partner Intellectual Property, Toritseju and Co. Where is she, please? Is she here? Okay. Welcome. Please, let's give her a round of applause as she comes up. And finally, another big round of applause for Professor Adejoke Oyewunmi. She is Professor of Intellectual Property Law, University of Lagos. A round of applause for her, please. For you to study to professorship. Please clap. It is not easy. Please let's welcome the moderator for this panel session, Brenda Wago, founder and CEO, QVT Media. She's also the managing director, Leeds Production Nigeria. She'll be moderating this panel session. A round of applause for her, please, as she comes up.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe I'll wait a little bit. No, I'm okay. I hope I'm not blocking anybody. Maybe I should come down. Where is that podium? I can stand there. Thank you. Okay, we'll quickly. Just a little correction. So Toju, Dottie is partner intellectual property, Aluko and Oyebode. Please let's recognize her properly. Please give her a little round of applause. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Okay. So we're going to be quite swift with this. We need to keep the time. I can see that we've gone a little bit over it, but it was worth it. It was worth it, Madam Yvonne. Just a few phrases I picked. Narratives create worlds, and I can totally, reflect on that. My husband reads. He's a voracious reader. And the first time he went to the UK and went to Shakespeare's house, he said, I have been here. This is exactly how I imagined it would be. All right? Okay. But he should have been talking about Shongo, and stuff. That's what we're here for and all that. And definitely, we're trying here to move from celebration to capitalization. All right. And I will start very swiftly with Otunba Seni Adetu, my Egbon, because I know that he's from Ijebu, so he understands capitalization, all right? And we're going to look at it, and I'm going to ask him the question he knows I want to ask him. So having led several multinationals, and now heading our own ventures, how do you interpret the idea of a narrative economy? Can Africa realistically monetize its stories in the same way it monetizes oil or telecom?
Okay. Wow, that's a loud microphone. Thank you very much, Brenda. I think the guest speaker has done a lot of justice to the topic. But the point is that narrative economy is really all about storytelling, about propagating our culture, about selling our passions, and all of those things that we all know about Nigeria and Nigerians, as well as Africa. For me, the word that is key there is economy. I think for the most part, a lot of people tell stories for the sake of telling stories without getting some economic value out of it. And that's why when I was told I was going to be a panelist here, that was why it was of interest to me. Because if you look at it, nobody should be surprised that there's such a rich culture here. And the question is, how do we package that? I repeat, to draw commercial value. What are the issues? What are the challenges? Because I know we are short of time, so I might as well say one or two words, because may never come back to the microphone here. But the point is, what are the issues we have that we cannot commercialize the storytelling? From my perspective, the first thing is that it's a very highly highly fragmented space. I was checking up the numbers. In Nigeria, on content creation alone, we have 2 million content creators. So everybody, it's almost like some people default to that when they don't have a job. Now, if you don't have a job, you're not going to go up and say you want to start manufacturing Coca-Cola the next day. So that, for me, is the first issue. The second issue is that there's hardly any regulation around that. If you're in some other industries, like what? The advertising industry, like the media industry, you'll be hearing names like ARCON. ARCON is a regulator, so they sort of define the scope of operating in the environment there. But with the narrative economy, in terms of content creation, selling of crafts and all of that, that is not well defined. A lot of times, people are afraid of regulation, but I say that regulation is not a problem. What is the problem is over-regulation. I don't have time to go into that. So it has to be regulated. Why? So that there will be a bit of governance around it, so that people know how to operate there and nobody is pulling the other back like the crab mentality. I offer one or two other things. The reality is that there's no pricing structure. Depending on who is writing what story, you don't know what the right price will be outside of Nigeria. So if you can't package something and export it when the pricing structure is not even well defined. So these are some of the challenges that we're facing. There are solutions. If time permits, I will give you my point of view. But there's got to be, most importantly, there's got to be scale in that industry. Fragmentation is the exact opposite of scale, and we don't have that now. I didn't talk about piracy because I know that you're going to talk a lot about the issues of IP protection. That's also an issue. And all of this result in value leakages, in our inability to generate good quality value from out of our average. I mean, I was saying to people to drop on a last note, if you look at, and I addressed the content creators of Nigeria exactly a week ago at Radisson Blue. And I was saying on a lighter note, just to tell you how powerful we are, how blessed we are in Nigeria. I said there are 4 M's that we have given to Africa and the world. And I said on a lighter note, but when I said this in South Africa, they nearly threw stones at me. I said the first M, as you can imagine, is movies. Anywhere you go in Africa, outside of Africa, that we've given to Africa and the world is our material, the fashion. I lived in Kenya, where my sister comes from, for like 6 years. And it wasn't unusual to see somebody wearing buba and iro to church on Sunday. So we give them material. Who can help me with the 4th M? Who can help me with the 4th M? Men. That's why South Africans are always fight anyway. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. And when you mentioned material, I was very intentional, about wearing my own plot lines of prosperity here, right here. Okay? So these are direct, also from Ogun State. Okay. We'll move to Barrister Dottie. And I think something he mentioned, I'm going to just write on that, which goes right back to IP protection. But with another, rider. In your own opinion, and from what incentives and legal framework or protective measures to attract investors, not just any investor, but African investors, okay, into Africa's creative economy, while ensuring that creators retain ownership and equity?
I think he's touched on it. He talked about having a legal framework, and I think that is lacking. I think sometime this year, the minister had brought out a policy for creatives. I don't know how far they've gone with that. I don't know what the sections and the provisions are, but we're making the right step, and we are moving in the right direction in that we have a good instrument that defines creative rights, recognizes the IP attached to that right, also provides for leveraging the value attached to that right. For instance, he mentioned music. Aside from that, there are several other things that are in the African continent. Our traditional knowledge, our cultural expressions. I think it was sometime this year, the Ojude gained global recognition, the Delta States. All those are cultural celebrations that are innate to the community. Getting a law to recognize that as a right, getting people that want to exploit that right to give recognition, and at the same time creating a system with that same law that allows for dealing with misappropriation of our culture and leveraging on those rights for us to get royalties is the way to go. So at the first step is having a legal instrument define all those things.
Thank you very, very much. From there, I'm going to move to the exchange discussion. So, Ms. Owuor mentioned Pan-African IP exchange, where we need to acquire securitize, and scale African IP. So my question to you, Dr. Ogunsanya, is, as chairman of the NSIA, how should sovereign wealth funds view storytelling, IP, and cultural assets as part of their long-term investment portfolios? And I'm going to add something else because, you know, Airtel is also a carrier. And from your experience scaling Airtel, so it's a two-pronged across Africa, what lessons in integration and cross-border systems can we apply to building that Pan-African exchange?
Hello. Good afternoon. Let me just assure you that your sovereign funds are very safe. So that's my first comment on the sovereign fund intervention around IP. But on a very serious note, when you look at IP, they can form part of a broad category of assets. We refer to them as infrastructure assets, like real estate. Because the revenues from them accrue over a very long time. It's not something that you invest in and you make money one time and it disappears. It's a long-term asset, and long-term assets generate ongoing revenues for a very, very long time. That's the beauty of investing in IP and in cultural assets. Recently, if you're familiar with this lady, Taylor Swift, she just brought back only six albums for $360 million from a private equity firm. That shows you the worth of intellectual property if it's well managed. She's worth about $1.5 billion, and about $500 million out of that is attributed to a musical inventory, patent, all the things that she's done around music. That shows you the value that is inherent in intellectual property. Music being a very big part of that intellectual property. The second thing that sovereign funds can do is to make sure that intellectual property and cultural assets, they form part of a broad category of assets that we invest in. By nature, you must have a diversified portfolio. You don't want when assets are down, everything goes down at the same time. So if you have assets that are negatively correlated with what you're investing in, it makes a lot of sense. What are the other categories of assets? We have debts, we have equities, but by nature, IPs, they are negatively correlated with such assets. So they can actually form part of a broad category of assets that sovereign funds can invest in. So as an investment, it makes sense for sovereign funds to protect and to project IP assets and cultural assets. And thirdly, there are huge economic assets. If you look at India, Nollywood is a major part of the economy. If you look at the US, Hollywood is a significant part of the economy. And Nigeria too, Nollywood is a major part of our economy. So the days of old, when you consider artists as just people who just take it as a buy job, it's how a mainstream activity that is contributing immensely to the wealth of every nation. So to summarize, sovereign funds, they've got a very big role to play. We can also use that to define the investment environment of a country, because culture is a big factor that people look at before they invest in any country. And if we define ourselves with the right cultural identity, it makes it easier for those who want to bring money in. And for Nigerians who are abroad to also come back and bring money, we shouldn't just rely on such external investors all alone. So that's a bit around what sovereign funds can do. Your second question about integration and how we can make sure we have an African-wide exchange. If you look at what we've done in the telecom sector, you can take your Airtel line to South Africa. There's no Airtel in South Africa. You can make phone calls and you can use it. That's what happens when you have interconnected system, and we still have independence and localization of those systems. Your Airtel is still regulated by Airtel in Nigeria, but when you go to Togo, when you go to, it works. What I'm suggesting for intellectual property to be widely available around Africa, there should be such a system that interconnects major and local IP exchanges that are formulated around local laws and regulations. Nothing should stop Nigeria from having its own IP database. Nothing should stop Togo from having its own IP database. But there should be an API interface that connects all these local exchanges so that, when you need to draw on an exchange, In South Africa, you don't need to recreate different languages. You can just automatically draw on such and do what you need to do. That is one. The second thing that is very important for this work is safety, the security of such IP rights. Some of us, some of the folks may not remember a gentleman called Baba Salah. Baba Salah was a major comedian in this country. And some years ago, his master tape was stolen. The moment the master tape was stolen, the man died that day. Literally died when the master tape was stolen. In today's world, your master tape can be stored in the cloud. If it's stolen, it can be stolen from the cloud. Anyway, so it's available. So when you have a system of interconnected exchanges where data is stored locally, you have a system where it is stored safely. You also can have like a blockchain system where you can actually register every trade on the IP. You can store it. You can transfer the asset from one to the other. You can actually monetize it. Makes it easier for such exchange to really transfer assets from one location to another. And finally, in terms of payment, because at the end of the day, cash is king. It's got to be paid for. You don't have to go to Ghana and buy Ghana cedi to pay for an IP asset in Ghana. With the digital money that we have now, either you're talking about mobile money or digital currencies, you can use your card wherever you are to pay for access anywhere. And we now have this African-wide switch that is called Pan-Africa switch system. This Pan-Africa switch system, all the major countries are connected, so your card would work in different parts of the world. So to summarize, all the key ingredients that are necessary for this, we're already working for telco. You've got the base, you've got the exchange, you've got the currency, you've got the access, you've got safe storage, you've got regulations governing them. So what is actually missing is how to get started. And I would suggest before I drop the mic, it's like, let's start with about 4 countries in Africa. We can pick Nigeria in West Africa, we pick Kenya in East Africa, we can pick Egypt in North Africa, and finally South Africa. With those 4 countries, we can actually pilot this interconnectivity and see how we can harness the immense wealth in intellectual property in Africa across these 4 countries. And by default, you're going to find other countries that are going to be begging to be a part of this. So once again, no country should underestimate the worth of cultural economy. It's a massive part that, if well monetized, it can actually lead to step change in the GDP of most of the countries in Africa. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I've created the acronym. It's NECS. Nigeria, Egypt, Kenya, and South Africa. Yeah, like BRICS, right? Okay, good. But that's it. Interconnectivity, safety, and security. Those are issues that we need to work out, to register. People should feel safe. Once it's on that cloud, even if anything happens, there's a backup, right? And you can retrieve it. Your assets are safe, okay? I think Fela's family is one of the few, probably in Africa, that, seems to understand, the value of IP, right? And he's been dead how many years now? And still he is celebrated. Still, we have plays, and the family will still get their royalties till tomorrow. And I think we need to also get their template, because there are so many people already that are creating content that stands out to be counted. Okay, so Professor Adejoke, Oyewunmi, I would just want to ask you one question, right? And the question is, if you could propose one transformative policy or legal instrument to secure Africa's creative economy for the future, what would it be and why?
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. That's a tough one, just one, because as we've heard, intellectual property is actually a gold mine whose value is yet to be fully recognized and explored in Nigeria. Not just in Nigeria, but on the continent. And the reason for this is not far-fetched. We have our different geographical, Africa is made up of different countries, but to a large extent, we operate under the same or very identical cultural framework. And that framework prioritizes sometimes the preservation of culture rather than its commercialization. We're only just beginning to recognize that there is a lot of commercial potential in our culture. Cultural knowledge, traditional knowledge, systems, and so on. So what I would want to see is a situation where we prioritize the commercialization of our cultural property, be it copyright, our literary works, our musical works, artistic works, as well as other inventions, traditional knowledge, traditional medicines, indigenous music, and so on. We need to prioritize this. And how do we prioritize it? We need to ensure that our laws and policies, the legal and policy frameworks, are actually fit for purpose in this area. To a large extent, we find that we operate many of these laws or many of these policies in a collective form. There's collective ownership, for example, of folklore, folk tales, even homemade textiles. We've been talking about Adire, for example, Abeokuta textiles and all that. I remember a few years ago, I was involved in a research and I visited Abeokuta, Itoku market to be specific. And one of the major challenges that they had was the fact that some foreign individuals and companies would come, look at their designs, take pictures of these designs, and then go and reproduce it elsewhere. But they lacked intellectual property protection to be able to fight against this. And if you look at our laws, we are not where we used to be. We've made some progress, but we have not gone far enough because we don't even have adequate frameworks for collective protection of intellectual property rights, especially in indigenous textiles, traditional knowledge, and all these other aspects. So I think we need to prioritize this to ensure that our laws and policies are fit for purpose. There's also the important aspect of harmonization. We have English-speaking West African Intellectual Property Organization. We have French-speaking Intellectual Property Organization. And yet, some of the leading countries, the largest countries on the continent, belong to neither organizations. They stand alone. So when we have such a fragmented system, how are we going to speak with one voice? How are we going to move forward? Thankfully, the African Free Trade Agreement now has a protocol on intellectual property, which was adopted just a couple of years ago. And this provides extensively for different aspects of intellectual property, but it's still linked to the national systems. So if the national systems are defective, then how is the ACTA protocol going to work? So I think we all need to come together to speak with one voice, to understand what our priorities are, and to focus on it. I'll just use one example, the European Union. I don't think that Africa has, at least to a large extent, we have just 2 or 3 main bodies or groups in terms of languages in Africa, French, English, and then maybe Portuguese. But when you go to the European Union, they have a lot more. Yet they have just one body, the European Union Intellectual Property Organization, speaking with one voice and prioritizing aspects, geographical indications, and other aspects that are critical to them. That's why they're one of the leading sections now globally in the area of intellectual property protection. We need to take a cue from that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. So that's protection, taking it down to the grassroots for us to understand it wherever we may be. And that's about creating that awareness, okay? Before we round up, I would love to ask you, in your mind, Yvonne, which African stories today do you believe have the potential to birth Africa's equivalent of a global franchise rather than mere soft power? One.
You know, that's a very unfair question.
Okay, one Kenyan, one Nigeria.
No, I'll. If I were just to choose one, I'd choose the Mansa Musa story for the simple reason is that how do you say it?
Shows the prosperity.
More than prosperity, it's a very one of the struggles we have as a continent is that we do not have an origin myth. But when you think of America, they have all these things, all these multiple myths: frontier country, nation on a hill, all of the. We don't have any of that. The Mansa Musa story, and that's what China did in terms of after it experienced this kind of civilizational collapse in 1975. What the Chinese government did was literally, even if they didn't have too much money for anything else, but they had money for their filmmakers and story makers to revive their historical epics, to remind the people about who they really were. And you can see that they're living their myth that they were invited to remember. Yeah. If you'll allow me just to presume one little thing, I was struck by one thing, that literally that very thing that we were crying about in the presentation, everybody who is needed to set it up is right here. Everything that we need, but also in the crowd, everything that we need to move forward, literally, I think is literally right here and right now.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to take a very quick question just to make sure that we are not leaving. Okay. Man in front. Yes, please. Just one, and then we're done. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, panelists. I'm Blessed Olasaint, BHA Digital. I'm Farm for Health Africa. There is this concern, and I really think we should begin to look at it. We always talk about PAPs, but the Western world, they know so well that the unified currency will be our strength. I am seeing, yes, we appreciate the African Bank and all that are putting effort in giving us PAPs, but I'm seeing it as a distraction. It's either that Africa, we have three options, and I want to ask, what do we do? It is either because the PAPs rate, we still depend on dollar to agree if I'm going to buy something in Ghana, even the PAPs rate still depend on dollar. So it's either the Africa decide to embrace dollar as our currency, or we agree blockchain, or we move the unified currency. What do we do? Let's stop deceiving ourselves. PAPs will become a distraction. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You didn't tell us your name, did you? Okay. All right. No problem. Thank you. I don't know who wants to respond to that. Thank you.
PAS is a starting point. It's not the end game. Now it's so difficult if you want to buy something in Cameroon to get this CFA, the CFA. But as we're starting on a journey, I think it's better than zero. Now it's so difficult to do anything unless you carry your currency and go and change in another country. But with PAS now, you can sit there in the comfort of your own and exchange your naira into dollar, and dollar finally going to Seni. And I agree with you, that shouldn't be the stopping the end game. But let's start from somewhere. Make it easier for artists, for entertainers to at least get value for their money, even though you're going to go through a third currency. Eventually, when we have large economies, when the economies are large enough, you will need to go through a third currency. But for now, when you have many fragmented economies, Nigeria is probably the second largest, 450 billion. Others are so small. If you take out Egypt, take out South Africa, they're very small economies. It's very difficult to do direct conversion when you have small economies. So scale is what the US dollar brings, and the onus is on every one of us to grow the economy to a scale whereby you're not going to need a third currency for the interchange. So I would still, think that, those folks who designed PASS is a starting point, and as economies get bigger, the need to go to this middle currency would disappear over time.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much. They just told me that I should ask more questions because they're waiting for Baba. So, or we should, can we move on? All right. Wait 1 second. Please come. Because we promised to keep to time. And the time is up. All right. So we'll take one more question and see if he can get here, because the next is his favorite part, solving moment. So he needs to be here. Okay. Okay, let me go to another side. You, please. And then we're done. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is David Oshajalomi. I'm the founder of Pacto. My question is in twofold. I think the first one is, a lot of times people don't even know what can count as IP, so they don't even know the value of the things they create. What ways can we encourage Africans? And I think I would like to piggyback off the Mansa Musa thing, because it says our history has been erased. So things like saying Mungo Park found River Niger doesn't hold up because we were living around the River Niger. My second question, still asking the question, how can you know what is regarded as intellectual property, is do we need to do a lot of groundwork to uncover our intellectual property that has gone extinct to be able to encourage the next generation to say we as Africans can be creators, and then pursue what does that actually look like?
Thank you. Who would like to take this? All right.
I think I would start first on what is IP, and you put the nail on the head, because we have our work cut out for us to create awareness on what IP actually is, the types that we have available, the types that are also abroad. I love how the professor mentioned geographical indication. People don't know what that is. That's a type of IP. Plant variety is a type of IP. In every industry, people are creating and innovating, and there are different types of IP. When we come to the creative sector too as well, our cultural expressions are now becoming a type of IP. I mean, everybody was tuned in to watch Ojude, and I was like, what's going on? That's the cultural expression that is now entertainment. So yes, we do have our work cut out for us in terms of creating awareness on what IP actually is, the types, how to leverage on it to get the economic benefits and things of that nature. So we do have our work cut out for us. But how that would look like, I think your question had a second leg. What do we need to do to history, and what are some of the things that we need to do? So I think somebody also answered that question.
What do we do to harness our histories? Unfortunately, we have to literally do the work. We have to do the research. We have to look within and pay attention to what is actually available. It's the thing some of us writers do. My work is literary fiction, and I use history as a palette. But literally, history is all around us. And probably the very same thing, the very same campaign around IP would probably also involve opening our eyes again to recognize really the gift that's also the gift that we actually live within and from out of. I mean, it's work that we need to do. We just need to read and ask, and yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much, and thank you, panelists. You've been wonderful. In fact, I think we already have the seat, right here, and we can take it from here. Please Can we just come down and take a good picture? Can we have them a big round of applause? Okay, yes, just there. So yeah, they take it up here.
Moderator, please join them. You're doing traffic order for them. You're supposed to be part of the picture. Please, let's appreciate them a lot more. Thank you very much for that amazing panel session. Wow. As the pictures are going on, I would like to very quickly appreciate and recognize the President and Chairman of the Governing Council of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria, CIPM, Malam Ahmed Ladan Gober. Where is he? Okay, thank you, sir. I also would like to recognize the Registrar and Chief Executive of CIPM as well, Ms. Oluwatoyin Naiwo. All right. We also have from LCCI as Siwaju Dr. Michael Olawole Cole. Where is he? Dr. Michael Olawole Cole. And another past president, AIESEC Alumni Nigeria, Mr. Kola Akosile. Akosile. Did I get it? I got it. Please, the Omolayole family, are they here? Omolayole. Oh my God. The Omolayole family, are they here? Please, the family members of Baba, are they here? I would like to appreciate them. Where are they? The children, the grandchildren, nieces, nephews, everyone from the Omolayole. Please just clap for them. Because I don't know. And I've eaten today. It's not like I'm hungry. Thank you very much. Please. We're moving on, and I would like to call on the chairman, Algorithm Media Nigeria, Mr. Seni Adetu, to handle the Saltville moment. Yes, please, a round of applause for him. That's another segment within this program. All right, just before that, let's recognize the President and Chairman, Council of Chartered Institute of Directors of Nigeria, Otunba Tunji Oyebanji. Welcome, sir. Thank you very much.
To climb the stage, I will, but when the chairman is going to speak, I want you to move this to his front. Is that okay? Thank you, I will do. Good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. We've got 10 minutes for this, but it's a very, very important part of the annual OML events. It's what we call the Saltville moment. The Saltville moment is the time when we celebrate the best of the best in Nigeria. I thought you would clap for that. So it's the time we celebrate Nigerian CEOs of multinational companies that have just been newly appointed, only so that we can inspire them to inspire other potential Nigerian CEOs that are coming in the next generation. So if you're asking what's the meaning of SALTVIM, SALTVIM as in SALTVIM, is a society for the advancement of local talent and virtues in management. So the assistant secretary to the board, and I'm not going to take the shine off my chairman, the board of trustees, but before I ask him to say a few words, and then we'll get into that, because like I said, we've got just about 10 minutes. I thought it would be important to recognize the chairman himself of the board of trustees and the members of the board of trustees. And to make it even stronger, it is not a coincidence that this is being held during the OML, Omolayole Management Lecture. It is because our Baba, Dr. Michael Omolayole, himself is the founder and the visionary of SALTVIM. I thought you would clap for him. You know, so if it's something to do with leading and championing the need for integrity in the industry, I don't think anybody has earned the license to do that any more than Papa Omolayole. So, Papa, we celebrate you, sir. Please let Baba hear me. Baba, we celebrate you, sir, for this SALTVIM moment, because he likes this particular part of it. So, on that note, we have an awardee today, but before I call on the awardee and we do him the honors, I wanted to just give the microphone to the chairman, my boss, Elder Felix Oyewunmi. I think you will clap for him. Well, I was talking about Papa Omolayole, but Elder Oyewunmi, I have to tell you, is in that same group. I talked about the other members of the board of trustees. We have Chief Oshukeye here, and it's not Osukeye, it's Chief Oshukeye. So I've corrected, I've helped the MC to put the name rightly now. He's here. We have, where's my Otunba, Olola Gulano is here. Which other trustees do we have here? I thought I saw Dr. Isoni before. I think he's gone. Okay. So we have many trustees here. But what I would like to do is to hand the microphone to the chairman of the board of trustees to say a few words, and then we'll do the awards. Thank you very much. I thought you would clap for me as well. Please, Baba needs to know that you are hearing him. So let's be very, very silent when he speaks. You know, we have to respect our elders. So he wouldn't have the voice that I'm giving you, but please listen and you will hear him. Please come here, sir.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Well, we now have the SALTVIM hour, and Seni has already told you what SALTVIM stands for. This year is a peculiar year, a very, very interesting year, because the awardee this year is the managing director of Unilever Nigeria PLC. You all know that Baba himself was chairman, chief executive of Unilever, in those days called, for many years. It was there he made his name. It was there he became an icon. It was there that history was made, in the sense that a Nigerian stood tall in the Unilever world. So I congratulate him that he is alive to see that the society which he founded has listened to his voice, and has now appointed for a long time, I won't had this, for a long time, the first Nigerian managing director. So he deserves your applause. Now, one of the things about solving is that it is to honor outstanding performers. And by the grace of God, those who have been honored have maintained their integrity and have excelled. We've been doing this now for almost two decades. The interesting thing is that it is our hope that when the other multinationals see the excellent performance of those who have been honored by Solvay, they themselves will be encouraged to move Nigerians to where we think they deserve in their organizations. So those who have not yet listened to the preaching and the teaching and the talk of solving, we will plead with them to just look at what has happened where Nigerians have been put in chief executive positions. And they will see that those who were honored have excelled in every way. Seni should actually have, I think he has already told you about our board of trustees. So many of them are here. Olola himself was here, but he left early at about 4 o'clock for something very important. In fact, he told us about it before. So, Seni, where are you? Please come and take over and talk about this wonderful man. This man who has excelled and who is now Managing Director, Unilever Nigeria PLC.
Thank you, sir. Another round of applause to my chairman. So without much ado, we're going to go straight to the awards. And what I'd like to do is actually stay here because it's the chairman himself that will give the award to the awardees so that we don't take too long. It gives me great honor to invite my aburo, the awardee, Mr. Toby Adeniyi, to please come forward. Please give him a round of applause. Papa must be very proud. When I spoke to him, he said, I'm so happy that in my lifetime, another Nigerian is MD of Unilever. Please give him another round of applause. If not that I knew Baba as a man of integrity, and the fact that some of us, including myself, have won the award before, I would have said it is what Nigerians call Ojoro. But today, I can tell you that there's no Ojoro in this. This man is the sitting MD of Unilever. Please. His biography is on page 29, page 30. So I'm not going to go through everything. I'm just going to say a few words so that we can get on with the time. But may I just advise him that of all the awards that I know in my life, this is the only one that you get when you are starting. Normally, you are giving an award when you are finishing. So Baba says you give, you say why? So that he knows what he's doing when he gets there. So you are getting an award even before you start, or as you are starting. So about Toby Adeniyi. Toby is the current managing director at Unilever and FMCG, and he has been with them for over 16 years. In addition, on the side, he serves as vice president multinationals for the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria. Toby's vast experience spans from sales to several aspects of supply chain, logistics, strategic planning, S&OP, etc., etc. Toby has spent a fair share of his career working across Africa and Asia, in Singapore, the Philippines, Indonesia, and so on and so forth. So very seasoned, well-exposed man. His passion is to continuously put Africa and African talent on the global map, which is a virtue that is very consistent with what we try to do at Solving. When it comes to strategy, to action, processes, and so on and so forth. Toby is a graduate of Computer Engineering BSc from Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology in Ghana, and is currently pursuing an executive MBA at Warwick University. He has also attended executive training programs with Columbia Business School, MIT, and Talk Executive Education at Dartmouth. He is an active stakeholder in fostering and enabling a community of FMCG practitioners across Nigeria. Toby is married to Titilola, a lawyer, public servant, and they have 3 children. And when he's not spending time with his family or at work, I like this one. He says, Toby watches football and loves a good meal. That's why he's very small. He loves a meal. You can see that that's why he's very, very small. So he says, I must do that, watches football and loves a good meal. Mr. Chairman, sir, I want to present the City Managing Director of Unilever to you for his award. Please, let's have the award so that we give to Papa. Toby, you may have to come forward here. Let me. Okay, let me bring it up.
Man, on behalf of Dr. Michael Omolayole, I present to you this plaque to commemorate this day. We in Solving here acknowledge your excellent performance, and our hope is that you continue to excel and that it will also develop younger ones so that they, in your time, can take over, after your time, can take over from you and also excel. Congratulations and God bless you.
Before you respond, you want to take pictures with Baba?
Distinguished ladies. The chairman of this occasion, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, this is one occasion I always look forward to. An occasion to congratulate a worthy Nigerian who has been appointed Chief Executive Officer of his company, often a subsidiary of a very large company. This particular year, the award goes to Mr. Toby Adeni. I will explain to the audience the meaning of Toby. He must have been given that name 7 days after he was born. And it means you will be big. It's a Yoruba word that says you will be big. Now, who says Toby is not big in status as well as in size? When I first met him, I said, well, you deserve to be a Toby. If you read my speech, which is in the brochure, twice I said I stood up in my room and gave a one-man ovation. The first time was when it was announced to me that Toby had been made in the 21st century the first Nigerian to be chairman and to be chief executive of Unilever. The last Nigerian to be chief executive of Unilever left the post in, if I remember rightly, 1998. So it has taken 27 years to produce another one. Now, certainly, Toby is what I call a product of consistency and persistency. Since 2005, I've been hammering on the fact that any big company that really means to do so will find a worthy Nigerian, will find an intelligent Nigerian, and will find a virtuous Nigerian. I'll be the last person to believe that there are no virtuous Nigerians. And that's why we called the group SOTV, Society for the Advancement of Local Talents and Virtue in Management. I read a paper a long time ago, and I said there was no beauty in the profession unless there's integrity. Any profession. If any profession lacks integrity, there's no beauty in that profession. So I'm a very happy person. The second occasion, I stood up again and give one man standing ovation was when I read Yvonne's paper, Plotlines of Prosperity. Oh, I was mesmerized. And so you go back and read my speech. Twice I stood up alone and gave one man standing ovation. Today in particular, I'm happy that on the panel of discussions, there were two awardees, Seni Adetu and Dr. Ogunsanya. I really am very happy. When I see a Solvim Award winner, I feel on top of the world. Sitting there is a gentleman, engineer, Ajayi. When I saw him today, I was happy. I shook his hand and I said, you are one of the first fruits of my diligence in teaching. When I left the university, I was determined to be a diligent teacher. I really put my heart and mind and soul into it. And the ones I thought were going to do well, they did exceptionally well. Now, in the same manner, as I present this, I will want Seni Adetu, as well as Dr. Ogunsanya, to come and surround me. This book is what I call it handles the management of change. In management, one thing you can be sure will happen is change. Change is permanent. And if you can't handle it, you may as well give up being a manager. It's written by two Harvard professors. I started with a fable, but it's an excellent book. I wholeheartedly recommend it. Meanwhile, where is Toby? I think, yeah. Congratulations again. God bless you. I wish you success beyond your imagination and beyond your dream. And you will be followed by another Nigerian. Amen. Okay. Before I conclude, if his chairman is here, again, I'd like to congratulate him. But if he's not here, I'll send this message. The group that belongs to Solving will never give up until those who were recalcitrant buy the idea. We must support Nigerians, and if nobody can defend our corner better than ourselves, we must do it. It's obligatory, and those of us who are very old will continue to hammer on it. God bless you all.
So we hear from Toby as we close this session. Toby.
Good afternoon, everyone. Let me just start by giving honor to whom honor is due, our Lord God Almighty. I want to appreciate my Father in heaven because I am first born of God before I am a human. I would also want to start by saying, there is the old saying that says, we stand on the shoulders of those who went ahead of us. And for our elders, I say a very big thank you, because I wouldn't be standing here today if you did not do certain things right in your time. One quick fun fact is that I was looking at the book, the pamphlet that was given, and the very first Omolayole management lecture in 1985 actually happened in the year I was born. So I find that as a very unique coincidence because I was trying to imagine what it was like to be seated in this sort of environment in the year I was born. But it just goes to show that leadership is not just about success, it's about legacy. And the legacies which you build and leave behind for others, even without knowing who is coming behind you, is what eventually pays it forward. So thank you to every one of the board of trustees and founders of this movement. I'll be very brief in terms of what I had to say. I think at the end of the day, what we realize is that when you are placed in a position of leadership, it is beyond you. I have a mentor, a distant mentor, who often says that your life is too small to be the purpose of your life. And so the moment you let go of selfishness, the moment you have your sights set on excellence and also leaving the legacy, more often than not, you would often find yourself in places where you are recognized. As I accept this award, I want to say that I am accepting it with every sense of humility. I do not take for granted being considered for this great honor. And I also want to say to the young ones, it is important for you to dream, but then let your dream be anchored on values. It is important for you to aspire, but do not sacrifice on any of those values. Because at the end of the day, what matters most is how you've touched lives. And when you go home at night, you lay your head on your pillow and you sleep peacefully without thinking about what is happening, who is chasing you, or whatever else it is. Peace of mind is very, very important. For us in the manufacturing sector, we often are behind the scenes. So it is very pleasing, to be recognized in this way. I spent the bulk of my career in the factory, in logistics, in supply chain. To be honest, I would say boldly, I probably did not aspire to become a managing director. I, at best, aspired to be a head of operations, but then somehow I found myself always being passionate about excellence, trying to ensure that we put Nigeria on the map. And so when that was read out in my profile, it's not just something that is said, it's something I'm very, very particular about. And with everything which I've heard today, in terms of telling the African story, in terms of even the African return, because I'm an example of an African return, spent some of my time in Asia and decided, at times I don't know why, but I decided to come back to Nigeria, to contribute my own quota. And so it is important. It is important that we recognize that there is no place like home. We see what is going on across the world now. And it is important that we develop our own home, develop Nigeria, develop Africa, and make it somewhere which we are proud of. Because success, it is indeed global, and we can achieve excellence anywhere we find ourselves. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Toby and Mr. Seni Adetu, for anchoring that segment of the program. We'll quickly head on to Baba himself, Dr. Michael Omolayole. Omolayole. I got it. I did. For his speech. All right, so we're going to juggle a few things. Baba has asked that we move the award presentation before his speech. So I would like to call the president of AIESEC Alumni Nigeria to please come forward as we give the awards to the people that we would like to celebrate and recognize here today. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you once again for coming around. So, in the course of our organizing this program, we had a lot of help and a lot of support. So we want to thank all those that participated in making this program come up. And we want to start with the keynote speaker who came all the way from Kenya to come and deliver this speech, and she has been here for many days, and she's still here. So we want to call on the keynote speaker. We want to present an award to her. So, can we have the award so we can make progress? Okay, so the next is Lagos Chamber of Commerce. This year, every year we have partners we organize OML with, and this year was done with Lagos Chamber of Commerce. So we want to present an award to Lagos Chamber of Commerce for their support. So next on the list are the panel discussants. We want to have Otunba Seni Adetu. Otunba, yes. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. So we want to have Dr. Segun Ogunsanya. Thank you, sir. So next is Professor Joke Oyewunmi. Thank you for accepting to come over on a very short notice. We really appreciate you. It's Barrister Toju. Around. Is there anybody who can represent her? Shambore, that is Shambore, are you still around? Okay. Okay, it's all right. Maybe they have to attend to an official engagement, so we'll give it to her later. So we want to have the organizing committee president. Mr. Akin Adeshola, are you here? After organizing committee president, we'll have digital reality, our print partners, who help print all these you're seeing. Mr. Akin Adeshola, we are waiting for you. Is there anybody from Kura? So, we want to call on Digital Reality. They are our exclusive partners. Thank you for your support. Thank you. Thank you very much. And last but not the least, Cora. I want to call on Cora. We are actually organizing a book reading with the guest speaker tomorrow, Friday, by 3 p.m. at Cora. So we want all of you to attend. So thank you, Cora, for supporting us. Can we have Cora's award? So that's done. Thank you, everybody. And we appreciate everyone that is here. It's not only the people who gave plaques. We appreciate all of us. Thank you very much for coming. Yes. So, okay, sorry, my oga at the top. Brenda, but the moderator, we'll have a platform moderator, and Mr. Darius Shambore is representing Barrister Toju. So we want to give you Toju's award. Then, Auntie Brenda, where are you? Auntie B. Toju, yes. Bring it out.
I stepped out of Mississippi when I was 10 years old.
Thank you. So, anybody here for Brenda? Okay, that's fine. Brenda is one of us, so she'll get her own letter. Thank you, everybody. We really appreciate everyone. See.
She was nice, kind, and loving to me in every way. Oh, I had a woman. She was kind and loving to me in every way. Oh, she used to love me and bring my breakfast to the bed every day. Oh, for 10 long years.
The boys from St. Gregory College, please could you stand up? A round of applause for them, please. And I heard that Baba is their longest or oldest alumni right now. Thank you very much for coming to honor him today. Okay, please come in and take a picture with him. St. Gregory College, Ikoyi, Lagos. If there are other old boys here, you could also come and join the picture. If you're an old boy of St. Gregory College, you can please come and join them in the picture. Okay. All right. University of Ibadan alumni, Daddy asks that you please come and join him here for a photograph. University of Ibadan.
I'm going back to the border, baby, where I'm better known, because you haven't done nothing big but drove a good man. When the moon peaks over the mountain, little girl, I'll be on my way. I won't roam highway until the break of day. got the key to the highway. To the highway. Build out and down to go. I gotta go. I gotta go. Leave heaven. Walking its most too slow.
The chairman of this occasion, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to keep the protocol short, therefore I plead to stand on the existing protocol. But having said that, I want to start by saying it's a miracle that I'm here this afternoon. And I want all of you to help me thank and praise Almighty God for making it possible. Well, this session is going to be the less serious part of the whole afternoon and evening. And so, if you are tempted to fall off your seat, fasten your seatbelt. When I said it's a miracle, I really am not kidding. When I woke up, I found that my sugar level was very high. And by 7 o'clock in the morning, I was already back down. So I had to pray to God Almighty to perform a miracle so that I could be here now. That reminds me of the story of a newly ordained pastor, very young, and he hadn't been preaching long. And one day, maybe about two months after he started, he got to the pulpit and he said, my dearly beloved brethren and sisters, today I'm going to preach about the miracle of our Lord Jesus Christ when he fed 5 people with 5,000 loaves and some fish. One audacious young man in front of the pulpit put up his hand and said, Pastor, that's no miracle. I could do that. And the pastor suddenly realized he was confused. So he managed to end without going on. And he went and studied very well his Bible and got some courage back. So next week, he again said, my dear beloved people of God, I was going to talk about the miracle of our Lord Jesus Christ when that young man interrupted me. I was going to talk about the miracle of our Lord Jesus Christ when he fed 5,000 people with 5 fish and loaf of bread and some fish. And he then asked the audacious young man, still sitting in the same place, can you do that? He said, Pastor, yes. How? He said, with last week's hangover. All right. Obviously, there must have been a lot of leftover last week. So that's my joke about a miracle. Now, I was going to start by recognizing different groups, but the photographers beat me to it. I wanted first to recognize the UIs here. Then I was going to recognize the Gregorians here, people from my roots. then I must go further to recognize members of my family who are here, who have been coming year in, year out. They're sitting somewhere together there. And again, I must recognize the friends of our distinguished guest speaker, Yvonne Adhiambo Owuor. When I read her speech, which was an excellent speech, if you read my paper, I told you I was mesmerized and gave one man standing ovation. But somewhere in her paper, she started with, among others, friends from Kenya or from Nairobi. Then I said, goodness me, is she going to invent them? Because we hadn't invited anybody else. And all of a sudden, this afternoon, I met her sister. We've spoken for several on the phone, and I knew she's been around, but I hadn't seen her. So I said, your senior sister knows what she was talking about when she said friends from Kenya. I think, quite honestly, I wrote a well-considered paper, and all my views are in there. What I intend to do now is just to summarize what I did put down. It's going to be no more than a summary. Otherwise, if you really want to know how I feel about many things, go and read what I wrote. But as a summary, I want to invite you to look at the main points. First, I recognize where we were coming from. We started 41 years ago. And I always say the pillars of what AIESEC is today, especially AIESEC Alumni Association, and in particular, those who attend this festival. I call it a festival. What is important is we come to have words we can consider later in life, and I call them, we give ourselves food for thought. And many of the people here are leaders of thought. Now, but in doing so, we make sure that we don't forget where we're coming from. Now, where we're coming from, the hero of that time, if I say 5 or 10 years, as far as I can remember, is Shola Oyetayo. I want you to, wherever you are, to stand for recognition. Without Shola Oyetayo, we probably would not be having this. I call it festival now. God bless you for your effort. You've been persistent. You've demonstrated what AIESECers can be. The second person is, I think, Brenda Wagu. Again, wherever you are, I want you to stand for recognition. You have been steadfast, as solid as the Rock of Gibraltar, and as constant as the Northern Star. And to make up the trial, you have, I saw him earlier in the afternoon, Idris Yakubu. And I told him I was sure he would be here. I called them Wazobia. He so happens that both of them come from different angles of the triangle. God bless you all. Two of you. I will sacrifice anything to be here. Otherwise, I wouldn't have come today. I would have given an excuse. And for records, this is the first place I've gone this year. I hadn't left my house the whole of this year. And I said, I can have no excuse if Yvonne is going to deliver. And those Wazobias are going to be here. Now, having said that, what did I put in the paper? I put historical points, where we started from, how far we've gone, and quite honestly, when you look back, we've made a lot of progress. Once upon a time, we didn't know exactly what day of the year or what month this was going to take place. But somehow, about 8 years ago, I said the young people had really done exceptionally well. Now, I like to help a little bit. And then I managed to get all those excellent hosting partners, the big companies and the big organizations to accept to be hosting partners. That honestly, the young people, they are the leaders of tomorrow. And the more we can help them, the happier we will be in our very old age. And Lagos Chamber of Commerce was the first to come on the line. I bless you, Mr. Idahosa, and Lagos Chamber of Commerce, and as well as your current Director General. You've been true to as good as gold. This is your fourth occasion of hosting. God bless you, mighty. I had my faith, and I've never been disappointed. Then the second organization is NECA. NECA, everybody knows, is Nigerian Employers Consultative Association. Again, they have played their part extremely well. At this juncture, I want to mention that it really, when I was president of NECA, that I first met Yvonne's father, and that was in Geneva. We went for employers delegate, and soon we became friends. Because Geneva, you spend a whole month making conventions and laws for the whole world, but each country must still go back and adapt it. It can be a funny place, because I recall one occasion, a speaker from, it must be from East European country. For the purpose of this story, let's say he was a Russian. He got up to make contribution, and he said, as he was talking, the English delegate walked out, and the English delegate shut up and said, "A point of order, I didn't walk out. I went out." and the president of the employer, he then told the president of the Russian delegate, "What's the difference walking out and going out?" Of course, the nuisance of English language. When you walk out in the middle of somebody talking, that's a protest. When you go out, that's not a protest. It's how you put it. However, when I met her dad, we became good friends, and not long after, I started getting invited to Kenya as a consultant with the government. As the same ILO was sending me, because I had now retired, I had a consultancy, and my logo was in pursuit of excellence. So, you're unlikely to think I'm going to fail when you give me an assignment. And I did so for almost 10 years, every year. If I didn't perform well, they would never have asked me back. But I thought I did. I met a lot of ministers. I met the president each time the conference, annual conference was opened by the president. And after a day, he would leave, and the vice president would stay with us for the rest of the 2 weeks. Now, after 40 years of doing well on our own, I thought perhaps we should buy the spirit of Pan-Africanism and start inviting people from other countries to participate in the festival of AIESEC. And I could think of no other person than Yvonne. Because all AIESECers in Nigeria, through the influence of Professor Omolayole, all of them call me Baba, and at first I used to wonder, but practically every AIESECer calls me Baba. And I said to myself, okay, I don't accept to be a mentor, so a mentor must be a Baba. And soon, Yvonne started calling me Baba, and I called her Omo Baba. Well, I then said to myself, let's give Omo Baba a chance. Until 2 days ago, I've never met her. Although I was close to the parents, and I saw them often, she was all over the place running after the golden fleece. And it's only when she started writing that I got to know how proficient and really, really good she is. So we had no problem convincing her to come. Now, the next thing is, how do we raise the fund? And I then talked to the pillars that let's invite MacArthur Foundation to give a travel fellowship. And we wrote a letter to MacArthur Foundation, and MacArthur Foundation said we will help, but having helps those who help themselves. We only do a little bit. But no matter how small, we appreciate it, and we're very, very grateful to MacArthur Foundation for making it possible to bring that tonight. First, he wrote a fantastic paper. I told you I was mesmerized, but even more so, our delivery was fantastic. We are most grateful to you. We are grateful to MacArthur Foundation and all of the AIESECers who had chipped in to make it possible. Now, that's what I call progress after 40 years. Where do we go from here? I call it forward ever, backward never. So, even if it is once in 5 years, we've got to look beyond our shores to bring international flair into this festival of AIESEC. The other thing that came to my mind was that we must not continue to speak up on issues relating to this country. If you read my paper, I itemized the things that we need to speak up on. My number one was food security. And I keep repeating this. When food is removed from poverty, the rest is manageable. And I stated my views quite clearly as to what we can do. And I even stated that it's not the rural areas, of course, will do the bigger part of the job. But urban centers can help. Those who live in the GRAs and they have back gardens, they can plant little vegetables there. Let's start with bitter leaf. Bitter leaf is almost a miracle vegetable. I can tell you how useful it is, and it grows very, very easily. If you doubt me, get in touch with Professor Oyewunmi of the Federal University of Ilorin. He's the provost of medicine there. He believes in it, and I honestly believe in it. There's no day I don't eat bitter leaf. So I won't charge you for it, for this advice. If you want to be 97, try it. Now, something else I mentioned, generally the food security, the food chain, the fact that there's a lot of wasting, pre-harvest and post-harvest. I also talked about other security and property. Nigeria is not the same as it was, say, 30, 40 years ago. Those who exaggerate say, even in your own private house, if at midnight you put out your finger, your hand, it will be chopped off. But we've got to do something to redeem the image. Long time ago, a lot of people prefer to travel at night because they didn't think there was a lot of transportation. Now you'll be foolhardy if you set out to travel at night in this country. But we pray that all those good times will come back one day. The third point I mentioned, apart from the food and the security of life and the electricity. You can see while we were here, electricity had gone off several times. And if we really, really want to industrialize, and we have no hope if we don't thoroughly industrialize, we must be able to have stable electricity at affordable prices. Now, but having said all of that, I urge everybody here, including the preaching on solving, to be prepared to speak up. In trying to speak up, I had a quotation. It's a long one, but I'll summarize it. A German philosopher. He said, during the reign of, when Hitler was in charge in Germany, and they had the Gestapo, and this particular man was a Protestant reverend. He became a philosopher. He said first the Gestapos went for the communists, and I didn't speak up because I'm not a communist. Then they went for the socialists. Again, I didn't speak up because I'm not a socialist. Then they went for the next dreaded group, and the Jews. Then I didn't speak up because I was not a Jew. Then I think they went for the Catholics. And he said he didn't speak up because he was not a Catholic, he was a Protestant. He said, then they came for me and there was nobody to speak for me. That's one reason why we must learn to speak up. In speaking up, even if we have nothing else to say, ask a question. You may not get an answer to your question, but at least you would have asked a question. So my theme today, the few jokes I'm going to give you are ask a question. Some long time ago, when Nigeria first became a parliamentary democracy, some parliamentarians came on visit to Nigeria. And one parliamentarian, Nigerian parliamentarian, offered to give them a sumptuous lunch in Ikoyi, and asked the lady of the house to prepare something really nice. And she thought the best thing she could do was to start with a mushroom soup. So she went to the market very early on that particular day, and she bought mushrooms. She knew some mushrooms are poisonous, and consequently, she was not going to endanger any life. She decided to test whether the mushroom was poisonous or not, and she gave a little bit of the mushroom to her dog. The dog ate it, and she was happy. Then she still said she wouldn't do anything, cook it, until 2 hours later. 2 hours later, the dog was still quite okay. So she cooked, they had a good lunch. When the lunch was just about to finish, I think they were just taking coffee. The steward rushed in to tell the lady of the house, I have to say this in Pidgin and translate it. He said to the lady of the house, Madam, the dog don't quench. In Queen's English, it means lady of the house, the dog has died. And the lady put his hand on his head, my God, I've killed lots of people. She was really upset. And the guest started to sympathize with her. She said, no, it's worse than that. You have to go to the hospital and be pumped out. So there was a commotion, they all went, and she was sorrowful, sitting back at home. Then a neighbor came, and the neighbor asked her, I'm so sorry to hear. What is the cause of the commotion? And she wasn't even going to answer. And the same steward said, the dog had died. And she said, what killed the dog? And the steward said, the dog was overrun by a reckless driver. What commotion. By not asking that question, so much commotion. So we must learn to ask questions. Now, another angle to question, once upon a time, there was a lion, a small lion cub, and he was roaming about the savannah forest. And he saw a monkey, and said, monkey, who is the king of the forest? And monkey said, it's the lion. The cub was happy. Then he saw a deer, and the deer said, after asking the question, the deer said, of course, the lion is the king of the forest. Then this little thing saw an elephant bull, and he said, Mr. Elephant, who is the king of the forest? And the elephant took the trunk, wrapped it around this little animal, threw it up in the air, about 60 feet. And the lion cub landed, managed to get up, and he said, you don't have to be angry just because you don't know the answer. Well, some questions provoke the person who is supposed to give the answer. So, for that reason, I recommend that those of us who seriously think we can improve, we should speak up. Even if we have nothing else to do, we should ask questions. That's those are my jokes for today, and I think you've had enough. I can go on and on, but I must resist the temptation. However, finally, it will not be like an Irish priest who, after saying finally, he still spoke for 1 hour. I'll say finally, I'm grateful to all of my friends, my relations, the big wigs, and the company top executives and chairmen who come here today. We must continue the dialogue with the companies that had not found a worthy Nigerian to be CEO and head of the business. We must never give up on that. And I can assure you, if water drops on one point in the rock, it will eventually wear it out. I thank you all for being here. And as I told you before, I still think it's a miracle I'm able to withstand all of the long hours of today. I got to this place at 10 minutes past 12. God bless you all. In particular, I want to thank once again Yvonne and our family members for being here. May we all be present next year, and may I be strong enough to be amongst you. God bless you all. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. God bless you. And by God's grace, we'll be here next year, like you said. We'll be having the closing remarks next, but not before I inform you that we're going to have photographs taken with Baba. There is an order of photographs here, so please be patient. Immediately after the closing remarks and the flag handover, we'll have the pictures taken in order, and I'm going to call out the order shortly. But for now, I would like the LCCI President, Mr. Gabriel Idahosa, to give us the closing remarks. Thank you.
Our icon for whom we are all gathered, Dr. Michael Omolayole, all the leaders and very young people from St. Gregory's. My closing remarks will not be like the one of the Irish priest. We have, at each of these occasions, learned a lot from everything, from the guest speaker, from the jokes, from Baba himself that are guaranteed. We learn everything. And so it's a real pleasure this year that we have this additional flavor of having a guest from Kenya, a sister from Kenya, to join us. And so we are very happy that another layer has been added to these annual lectures, and that many years to come, perhaps we may just come as a guest and be with us. So I thank everyone, and to say that, as has been said, next year, about the same time, we will have this again. Thank you, everyone. So it's my pleasure now to, in accordance with the tradition, hand over the flag to the next organization that will host for next year. And the organization is NECA, right? Do we have NECA? 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 Wow. Okay.
Daddy, with permission, may I invite Chief Oshunkeye, my daddy, to please join me. OFR, Mrs. Oshunti of the International Chambers of Commerce. Interestingly, they are my council members. Chief Oshunkeye is a past president, the 15th president. Daddy was the 10th president of NECA. So we just have to do that, please.
Okay, it's a real pleasure indeed to hand over the flag to NECA, but it's even more so that President of NECA brought some of our elders from LCCI, Chief Oshunkeye, who is a revered member, a member of our Board of Trustees. So it's a double pleasure for me to hand it over to you, but not really handing everything over to you because we still have LCCI on your side. Thank you.
On behalf of the President of NECA, Dr. Ifeanyi Okoye, MNI OFR, on behalf of my boss, Mr. Adewale Smart Oyerinde, the DG of NECA, and the entirety of NECA members, Secretariat, the Governing Council, would like to appreciate the fact that once again the baton is being passed on to us. It's a tradition that has been over the years, always collecting from the LCCI to NECA, and thereafter, after doing our own leg of the marathon, we'll now pass the flag back to the next person, and it's on. So, like Daddy have said, this time next year, God's willing, September, we look forward to receiving each and every one of you, and even more, at the 42nd edition of the OML series. God keeping us alive, we do hope that you'll be all there to grace the occasion. More details of what that year will entail will be communicated to you in terms of the venue, in terms of the topic, in terms of the guest speaker, and in terms of the outlook. But please do take this as an advance notice that we are inviting you all to the 42nd edition of the OML. Thank you so very much, and God bless you.
Thank you very much, LCCI and NECA. This will be the order of photographs. Please, we'll try to make this as quick as possible. The first group to come here to take pictures with Baba are all OML partners, the leadership of the partners for this event, either their chairman or president or registrars. If you're here, please come forward to take pictures with Baba. That's CIPM. Yeah. LCCI. MAN. Okay, sir. president of MAN, is he here? Okay. All right. I've been told I would have to give the vote of thanks before the pictures continue. So I would like to call Mr. Aki Adeshola to come give us the vote of thanks, and then we'll move to representatives of all companies that sponsored or advertised in this year's OML event. But for now, let's have the vote of thanks.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. And please forgive me, it's been a very long day. We had planned to finish this program by 6 o'clock, and it's 6 on the dot if you look at your time. We want to thank you all. Giving a vote of thanks can be a very tedious thing, so I'll try and make sure that it isn't. This year, we broke with tradition in very, very many ways. And one of the very first ways with which we broke with tradition was that this is the very first time that we are having a female speaker at the OML back to back. I think that is something that is worthy of recognition. Yvonne, we're very happy to have you with us. Last year we had Mrs. Musulushoga, and this year we have Yvonne Adhiambo Owuor. The first time in the history of the OML where we have had two ladies speak back to back. I think that is one of the traditions that we have broken at the OML. This year, I know that quite a number of organizations present here, especially our partner organizations, we didn't go by the traditional recognition protocol that we used to do. There is a reason for that, especially because of consideration for many of the elderly ones amongst us here. But I think in the course of the event, we have also been able to mention many of them that are here. We really want to thank all the partner organizations from LCCI, our main host organization this year, the CIPM, NECA, NIM, the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, CANMPEF, and of course, Omolayole and Associates. We really want to thank all of you. I would be remiss if I did not mention someone very special who has played a lot of very important roles in the background, especially with regards to Dr. Omolayole. Please, I want all of us here to please give a special round of applause to Mrs. Bukola Benedice David. Please rise up for recognition. Thank you very much. She's a very shy person, but she has played a fantastic role in helping us to put this program together. And she's Dr. Omolayole's daughter, by the way. She takes very good care of Dr. Omolayole, and she has helped us to manage a lot of things here.
And we want to especially thank Digital Reality Print Limited. They are our exclusive print partner. They produce many of the very fine things that we have seen here today, the brochures, the banners, the carrier bags which you will collect on your way out, and the notepads, and a whole lot of other things. We really want to say thank you to them. Many of our organizations who advertised in the brochure and who supported us with finances, we want to thank you very, very, very much for your support. And of course, the Committee for Relevant Art, who are helping us to organize a book reading. And I want to talk about that. Please, tomorrow we have a special book reading event that will feature Yvonne Adhiambo's award-winning book, Thurs. If your time permits, please join us at the Freedom Park on Broad Street tomorrow at 3 p.m. and you will have a wonderful creative feast there tomorrow. To all the members of the organizing committee, both in AIESEC and the partner organizations, Joshua, Dei, Kundayo, Emma, Peter, Funsho Esho, Fumi Onosoya, Damilola Savage, Toby Babarinde, Dr. Segun Alabi of MAN, and Omolayole Okewumi. I want to say thank you all very much for your wonderful support for this program. The president of LCCI, it was by design that I left you last, because your organization did wonderfully in supporting us for this year's event. And we want to thank you also for having stayed this long to the end of the program. We really appreciate your support, and thank you also. We look forward to another 6 years when it will be the turn of LCCI again to host the Omolayole Management Lecture. And we wish you good health. We want to say thank you to all of you who have waited patiently till this point. And I'd like to hand over to the MC now and say thank you very much and see you again next year.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very, very much. Please, all representatives of companies that sponsored or advertised in the brochure, kindly come forward to take pictures right now. Where are they? We have QVT Media, Fidelity Bank, Algorithm Media, Leventis, Mary Stem, Makoto Foundation. If you're here, please come. If not, let's move to representatives and staff of all OML partners, reps and staff members of NIN, CIPM, MAN, LCCI. All right, the pictures will now be taken at the red carpet in the lobby. So please head off to the red carpet at the lobby. That's where the pictures will be taken now. Next will be AIESEC alumni members, followed by AIESEC members and AIESEC board of advisors. And finally, Baba's family and close friends. Please head to the lobby for the pictures. Thank you.
Mark my words, that's all that I have. Mark my